What's up, everybody? It's Fabio Potent. You know this. Bringing you guys today a Jujutsu Kaisen little discussion. Not even gonna be that long. I might even try and make this 10 minutes. It's gonna be shorter than 10 minutes, I hope. We're gonna talk about Nobara and Yuji, what I believe to be the greatest, their finest moment in the series. We're gonna be talking about the both of them today. So enough with the bullshit. Let's get straight into the video. This video has light spoilers and spoilers to Shibuya and just spoilers in general. So if you're not caught up, I'm gonna just play it safe. If you're not caught up at least to chapter what chapter is this? 132, just to play it safe. If you're not caught up to chapter 132, do not watch this video. Now quickly, let's take a look back. Take a look back all the way back a few years ago, maybe 2018, 2019. Let's take a look back. Let's take a look at the origin of obedience arc. When I say that this is Nobara and Yuji's greatest moment, I'm not necessarily talking about the full fight. What I more so mean is the conclusion or the aftermath of the fight, but we will go over it just a little bit, just to set the mood, the ambiance, or whatever the word is. I'm not even sure that's the right way to use it, but fuck it, of the feeling of exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I'm not gonna really talk about the abilities and all that stuff, but if you do want to check out my What Makes Nobara So Badass video, I go a little bit more in depth into this fight, talk about Nobara's abilities, etc., etc. But we're not even going to talk about that. But if you read this arc, let's talk about the end of it, or the end of this fight. Now, the two of them are fighting Chozo's brothers. I believe their names are Iso and hold on. Fuck, what's his other dude's name? Fuck it, I'll put it on the screen. They fucking Iso and the other dude, and Iso activates his cursed rock technique decay and all that shit. He says, in a few minutes you'll be nothing. But as we all know, and as I described in my What Makes Nobara So Badass video, her resonance ability, technique that has to be touched, you're a bad matchup for me. And this is when the greatness begins. Nobara, she begins stabbing herself, inflicting, wounds on herself, stabbing herself right through here. It's just fucking, that's when I knew that she was different. That's when I really knew that she was different. Now, one of my favorite parts is how she looks at them and she asks them if they want to play a game of chicken, stabbing herself, looking all demented, and she asks them, and there's a heart at the end of the sentence, insinuating that she's saying it in a flirty, kind of cheeky way, makes it even more demented and fucked up. Now, Nobara, because of her resonance technique, she basically has these two of them at hostage. They basically hostage. And Yuji, he doesn't hesitate a step, rushing in to kill Iso. Now, the two of them are just in the zone, bro. They're in the zone, and they both activate that black flash. And I'll never forget it, man. I'll never forget it. It's still, whenever I read it, it's still just as hype as when I read it back in the day. Now, tears off his arm, and then Nobara kills the younger brother, found his name, Kizuchi or something. I think I'm probably saying the name wrong or whatever, with hairpin, saying, I'll be sending you to your big brother. I'll be sending your big brother your way soon. Absolute madness, absolute crazy, but that's not even what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about any of this. It's coming up. It's coming up. Hear me? Now, Iso cries for his brother's death, and the tears hesitate Yuji for a second. Nobara wonders why the body doesn't disappear, and then it all comes to them. These are flesh and blood, not curses. There's a hesitation for a brief moment that allows Iso to get away for a retreat, but it's short-lived. We all know, Yuji, before he lands the finishing blow, he says, I'm sorry. Now, what I really wanted to get to wasn't that fight, but the conversation that takes place after that. That is what I believe to be Nobara and Yuji's greatest moment. The two of them in this dialogue that they share. It's still one of my favorite two pieces of dialogue between two characters in the entire series. Now, this conversation, it takes place in chapter 63, and it's the icing of the cake. And I'm going to just read the whole conversation to you so you can get the idea, and I'm going to give you my thoughts. You all right, Kugisaki? This might leave a scar. As for the poison, I don't know. I wonder if Shoka will be up this late. And sober. What's with you? You're acting weird. Isn't this the first? And then Yuji replies, isn't this the first time you killed something instead of exercising it? And then Nobara replies with another question. What about you? Yuji again. I have once. No. Saying once is kind of misleading. It was 3 people. Nobara again. Aren't you the one who should be having issues here? Honestly, I don't really have a problem with it. As Jujutsu sorcerers, these kinds of things happen. Not to quote Fushiguro, but there's not only so many people we can save. And if you haven't been in my shoes, then I don't want you telling me what's right and wrong. Is that cold? Well, I guess there are people like you who do their own thing. I'm not sure what to say, but I don't think we've been given much of a choice. If they were flesh and blood Jujutsu sorcerers, it would have been impossible to keep them restrained for long. You know that, right? And then Yuji again. But he was crying for his brother, who died in front of him. Nobara, I see. And then Yuji again. I'm happy that you and I survived. I'm relieved. Even so, because of the life I took, tears were shed. That's all. And then Nobara, yeah, then I guess that makes us accomplices. Now, why did I just read that whole thing to you? What makes this so important? Why did I read that to you? Why did I just go through it text by text? Because I needed you to hear it. I tried to read it as best as I could, but I need you to understand the conversation that takes place and really what just happened after that. Because if you read this fight weekly and you see the way that Nobara and Yuji are treated in this fight, they're almost depicted as the villains, right? They're depicted as the antagonists in this fight, the way that they're just brutally massacring these things, and it shows you the tenacity of sorcerers. And this conversation ties also into Shibuya, and I'll get to that a little bit later. Start off with the obvious. First, I love when Yuji, he tries to act tough, asking Nobara if she's alright. But Nobara, being the G that she is, already knows that Yuji is acting weird. Now, Yuji asking this question to Nobara is pretty interesting. And he says, when she asks him if he's killed something instead of exercising it, at first he says, I have once. And then he says, no, saying once is kind of misleading. It was 3 people. Trying to even, not even lie to Nobara, but not to himself, because the 2 other people on the roof, I believe, and as well as Junpei. I think that's what he's talking about here. And I really like this moment with Yuji trying to lie to himself and say that he's only killed 1 person. Trying not to carry that burden, because we know his dream is to make sure that people die a humane way. And for him to have to kill these 2 individuals in such an inhumane way, it must really, really shake him. And it does. But the even greater part about this that I also like is what Nobara's response is. Saying she really doesn't have a problem with it. Now, there's only so many people we can save, and that, like, if you haven't been in my, don't tell me shit. The disparity between the 2 is what I'm looking at here. How the 2 of them see what just happened. Nobara, nonchalant. She did hesitate for a second, but at the end of the day, she had to put homie on the shirt. She did what she did. That's why Nobara the best. Yuji, GOAT 2 in his own right. Hesitation. He feels. He's clearly more, like, I love Nobara and she is empathetic, but clearly Yuji's empathy is on a whole nother level. But I'm going to talk about the Shibuya events in which he spoke of later. And Nobara asking, is that cold? That if you haven't been in my shoes, and I don't want you telling me what's right and what's wrong. And I kind of get, everybody's different. Everybody's path is different. The decisions that they have to make is different. Was she supposed to just let these people live or try to save them in exchange for her own life when she was on the verge of death, basically, because of this rod technique? Was she really supposed to? From the outside looking in, as us reading the manga, they look like absolute savages. But they were just doing what they thought was right. And still, they were maybe even doing still what they think was right. Well, not they, but Nobara. Now, the dialogue between these 2 becomes even more interesting. When Nobara, she said, I'm not sure what to say, but I don't think they would have given us a choice, explaining that it doesn't matter if they were real life Jujutsu sorcerers. It would have been impossible to keep them restrained for long. Like, they would have got out. We would have had to do something. And I love when Yuji says, but he was crying for his brother who died in front of him. I'm happy that you and I survived, even so because of the life I took. Tears were shed, that's all. But I love Nobara's response to this. Like, she can't, I'm not entirely sure that she can feel the same thing that Yuji is here, and she knows that. But she shows true empathy and understanding that she can never be Yuji, and understanding how he feels, saying, yeah, then I guess that makes us accomplices. What does this scene really mean? At least to me. It can mean something. I think it can be interpreted in different ways, and if you have a different interpretation, please let me know. I love this scene so much. But when she says, yeah, that makes us accomplices, well, to me, and I said this is in my what makes Nobara so badass video, the fact that she won't let Yuji carry this burden alone, even though she cannot understand what he's feeling in the emotions right now, thinking that it gave us no choice. We had to put him on it. Like, we had to do what we had to do. And Yuji's like, yeah, but still. She understands that, but that she can't feel like that, and says, seriously, that makes us accomplish. You don't have to carry this burden alone. Even though the burden may not weigh the same on me as you, I won't let you go out like this looking sad. You know what I mean? And I really respect that about Nobara. And it's not a very like traditional, oh, I'm here for you, you know, this and that. She's just like, no, I'm gonna give you this, I'm gonna keep it the beam with you. Like we had to do this, you know, and I can't understand how you feel, but just know that we did this together. It's not just you. You don't need to feel like you were the only one who killed these brothers. I also took part. The Booyah event in this video is because this scene right here, we see Yuji, right, empathizing over the death, or just feeling grave, even though these dudes were trying to kill them, killing actual living people, because we know that goes against them. But later, in Shibuya, when he is broken, saying, I just love the I guess what's the contrast? I guess the word is the contrast between these two scenes. Back then, he was really trying to understand why he had to do that. Even though he survived, still tears were shed. But here, in the face of Mahito and Shibuya, I don't need to find a reason, a meaning or reason. Maybe 100 years after my death, the meaning behind my actions will become apparent. In the grand scheme of things, I'm probably nothing more than a cog, but I'll keep killing curses for as long as I can. That's my role in all of this. And then Yuji becomes a man, and he is the hunter. Now, I just wanted to bring that up because I just thought that was pretty cool how these two scenes contrast each other. We have Yuji back in the day, chapter 63, I think it was, that we were just talking about, where he's really empathizing over having to kill these two brothers. But Mahito broke him. He's like, nah, some of y'all gotta go. Mahito, you gotta go, fam. You're not good. And it's just interesting. I wonder if he's gonna keep this up, this whole I'm trying to save everybody in a humane way. I think that shit out the window. I think we about to see a whole nother Yuji, dog. Gojo gone. Oof, we about to see a whole nother Yuji. But yeah, that's just my favorite and greatest moment from Nobara and fucking Yuji. How about y'all? I know not everybody gotta like this. I'm just putting mine out there. I'm not saying this is the greatest, just my favorite. So yeah, what do y'all think? Is this the greatest moment? Did y'all love this scene as much as me? If you read this weekly, it was God tier. So let me know. If you were a weekly reader then, how did you feel when you read these span of chapters? It was God tier. And if you're a new fan and you just caught up with the anime, or you've been binging this shit, tell me how you feel too. And if you don't really like this scene, or you didn't really pay attention too much, maybe go back and read it and then come back, give me an opinion. Or what's your favorite moment from between two? It doesn't have to be Nobara and Yuji. Maybe some dialogue between two characters. I think I haven't covered, but Gojo and Geto, their conversation back in the day was raw. So yeah, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, do all that good shit. Like I said, quick little video. I'm Fabio Potent. I'll see y'all in the next one.